Steven Universe might seem like just a cheerful kid with a star on his shirt and a goofy smile, but there's a lot more going on beneath the surface. Behind the jokes, songs, and snack obsessions is someone trying to figure out where he fits in a world full of ancient magic, heroic expectations, and personal doubt. Steven's story is about more than powers and monsters. It's about growing up, finding your purpose, and learning what it really means to belong. So, grab a cookie cat and let's dive into the story of Steven Universe. Before we get started though, hit that subscribe button. Steven Universe is a chubby kid with curly black hair and a permanent smile who lives in Beach City. He's not your average boy. He's half human, half gem, with a rose quartz gemstone where his belly button should be. This gemstone belonged to his mother, Rose Quartz, who gave up her physical form so Steven could exist. He lives in a beach house built into the Crystal Temple, protected by 3 alien gems: garnet, amethyst, and pearl. His days have a strange rhythm. While other kids might have school or chores, Steven spends his time visiting the Big Donut, singing made-up songs, waiting for packages, and occasionally joining magical missions. The beach house kitchen is always stocked with his favorite snacks, though he's devastated when Cookie Cat ice cream is being discontinued. "They're the only ice cream shaped like a cat," he protests at the Big Donut, completely serious about this tragedy. When Steven does tag along on gem missions, it's clear he's still finding his footing. He can't reliably summon his weapon or access the temple rooms. Instead, he compensates with his prized cheeseburger backpack, ordered specifically to help on missions until I learn to use my gem powers. This backpack becomes his substitute for magic, packed with sweaters, snacks, and inflatable rafts. Steven's creativity appears in unexpected ways. He turns breakfast into an event, carefully stacking waffles, popcorn, whipped cream, and a perfectly placed strawberry to create Together Breakfast. He follows the gems throughout the temple, breakfast held above his head, determined to share this creation. "It's not just breakfast," he insists to Amethyst, who tries to eat it. "It's Together Breakfast." When it comes to his powers, Steven tries everything. He recreates the exact conditions from when his gem first glowed, singing the Cookie Cat jingle with theatrical gusto. Each gem offers conflicting advice. Pearl suggests precision and practice, Amethyst recommends instinct, and Garnet proposes cosmic connection. Steven absorbs these contradictions with a furrowed brow, trying to make sense of expectations he barely understands. Failure hits him hard. When he forgets the Moon Goddess statue during the Sea Spire mission, the structure collapses into the ocean. Steven immediately accepts the blame. "This is all my fault. I broke it." The 3-hour paddle home in his inflatable raft becomes a quiet reminder of his limitations. Yet beneath these struggles runs a current of determination. When the centipedal mother attacks and the gems are losing, Steven doesn't hesitate. He charges outside with his Cookie Cat freezer, attempting to help the only way he knows how. When his ice cream-powered shield fails to materialize, he improvises, throwing the electrified freezer at the monster. Steven's ordinary world is anything but ordinary. His bedroom wall opens into a magical temple. His guardians are thousands of years old. His days shift between human mundanity and cosmic threats. Yet through it all, Steven maintains an unshakable belief that things will work out, that he'll figure out his powers in his own Steven-y way. As the gems reassure him, the beach house sits between 2 worlds, and so does Steven. Half human joy, half gem responsibility, trying to find his place in a universe more complicated than cookie-shaped ice cream and cheeseburger-shaped backpacks. But he faces each challenge with the same enthusiasm as he greets the mailman, ready for whatever comes next, even if he's not quite sure what that means. Steven's easygoing life in Beach City is upended when Garnet forces him into his first serious mission, challenging the very idea that he's ready for anything beyond being a bystander. Steven Universe is a half-gem kid living with 3 alien warriors who barely know how to handle him. He spends his days eating ice cream, singing made-up songs, and staying out of the way while the adults fight monsters. The gems treat him like a mascot, not a teammate. Then, Garnet drops the bomb. "This is your first serious mission, Steven. No more playing around." The kid brings a ukulele to a battlefield, pretty much sums up how unprepared he is. While the gems see ancient war grounds soaked in history, Steven just sees strawberries to get covered in. Inside the Pyramid Temple, murals show Steven's mother fighting in a war he knows nothing about. When he touches something he shouldn't, everyone gets trapped in an endless maze. Classic Steven move. Through deadly trap rooms with axes and lava, Steven keeps flashing back to the teacup ride incident where he puked, passed out, and got everyone thrown from the ride. Even his fun memories are just reminders of how he messes everything up. When Steven realizes they're stuck in an infinite loop, he breaks down. "I'm never gonna get to go on the kiddie coaster again, and now we're gonna die in a trap!" His real fear is proving once again he doesn't belong. The temple spins like the teacups, trapping them all in an endless circle. Steven sees the solution through his own failure, the very thing that makes him different from the others. The gems stare at ancient battles on the walls, while Steven remembers carnival rides. They see enemies. He sees patterns. Maybe his perspective isn't his weakness after all. Pearl and Amethyst bicker about who should babysit him, like he's a burden to be managed. I should stay with Steven, Pearl suggests, while Amethyst grabs him like a toy. I want to be with Steven. Neither asks what he wants. Garnet simply takes him, no discussion needed. He's passed around like the smallest sword in the armory. In the trap rooms, Steven becomes dead weight. Garnet carries him through fire and spikes while he sleeps, exhausted by fear. He wakes to discover she did all the work. The message is clear. We'll protect you, but you're not one of us yet. The pyramid is a mirror showing Steven what the gems really think of it. His mother's image watches from stone walls, a constant reminder of who they wish he was. Rose Quartz fought battles. Steven gets butterfly attacks from berry-covered cheeks. Yet, when the moment matters, when Pearl admits, I don't know what's going on, and Amethyst flies by encased in ice, Steven sees what they can. The temple rotates like a carnival ride, connecting rooms in predictable patterns. His human experiences, the very things that make him different, become the key to their escape. The irony isn't lost. The boy they brought along as an afterthought becomes their salvation. The mission meant to test Steven's readiness instead reveals how much they need his unique perspective. A perspective shaped by puking on teacup rides rather than fighting thousand-year wars. As shown in the Serious Steven episode, sometimes the most valuable wisdom comes from the most embarrassing failures. But even after proving himself, Steven still avoids taking responsibility and stays in his comfort zone. Steven Universe might live with alien warriors and have a magic gem in his belly, but he'd rather spend his time eating ice cream and singing made-up songs than actually deal with who he is. When things get serious, he looks the other way. In Steven's Lion, he finds a powerful, mystical creature in the desert and immediately treats it like a pet. The pink lion with glowing eyes clearly has some connection to gem magic, but Steven just wants it to play fetch and impress the kids at Fish Stew Pizza. When the lion won't follow his commands, Steven's insecurity shows. What's wrong with you? Why won't you just do what I want? His need for control reveals his fear of the unknown. When the lion keeps trying to reach the desert glass, Steven's response isn't curiosity, but rejection. He throws the artifact away in anger, nearly burying Beach City in sand. Steven would rather risk destruction than admit this magical being might have wisdom he lacks. Time travel falls into his hands in Steven and the Stevens. What does he do with it? Start a band with himself. Not investigate gem history or fix past mistakes, just make music with copies of himself. This avoidance is telling. When given literal power over time, Steven uses it to stay exactly where he's comfortable, entertaining others. The moment his clones challenge his authority, "You're being a music dictator!" he tries to erase them all from existence. His fear of losing control drives him to extremes, showing how deeply he fears confronting his own flaws. It takes seeing the terror on his past self's face for Steven to finally accept responsibility. The worst is in On the Run, when Pearl mentions that gems once tried to do something terrible to Earth. Steven's response? That means you're just like the No Home Boys. His need to trivialize trauma reveals his inability to process darker truths. Even at the kindergarten, a place Amethyst describes as where bad gems came to grow more bad gems, Steven plays dumb. I still don't understand what any of this means, he says, as Amethyst hides in her creation hole crying. His deliberate obtuseness is self-preservation. Understanding would mean accepting that his mother and the gems he idolizes were part of something terrible, that Amethyst considers herself a parasite, and that his heritage isn't the magical fairy tale he pretends it is. Every time Steven gets close to the truth about gems, his heritage, or his responsibilities, he retreats into childishness. Magical lion? Let's go get pizza. Time travel? Band practice. Ancient war crimes? Hobo adventure. The gems enable this. They shield him from facts about the kindergarten, treating him like a tag-along, and clean up his messes. Pearl explicitly states he's not ready to know the truth, reinforcing his insecurity. His ignorance works for everyone, until it doesn't. The desert glass nearly kills him. His time clones almost destroy reality. Amethyst and Pearl's fight at the kindergarten nearly crushes them all under a falling injector. Steven's human side is his escape hatch. While the gems battle monsters and deal with ancient artifacts, Steven makes breakfast sculptures and writes silly songs. Being the kid they protect is easier than becoming the half-gem warrior they need. Despite constantly avoiding responsibility and staying into his comfort zone, Steven's journey takes a turn when he starts seeking real guidance, and the mentors he needs aren't always who he expects. Steven Universe never asked to be a half-gem. He never chose to inherit his mother's legacy, her powers, or her responsibilities. Yet, here he is, expected to follow in the footsteps of someone who gave up her physical form so he could exist. But who's supposed to teach him how? Throughout the early episodes, the crystal gems try to guide Steven, but mostly fail. Each mentor brings a different approach, and none of them really understand how to bridge the gap between gem powers and human limitations. Pearl is the worst kind of teacher, rigid, stuck in the past, and obsessed with rules. In Gem Glow, she takes Steven to a tree with falling petals to teach him weapon summoning. The petals dance seems improvised, but it is being calculated in real time based on the physical properties of this planet, she says with her nose in the air. Her method is all about structure and overthinking, which doesn't work for Steven at all. When he doesn't get it, she looks down on him. Amethyst doesn't even try to teach. Behind the big donut, she tells Steven, "Whenever I need to summon my weapon, it just happens." She slices a dumpster in half with her whip and calls it a day. Her go with your gut approach might work for her, but leaves Steven more confused than before. She's a mentor who can't be bothered to actually mentor. Garnet just speaks in riddle. When Steven asks if he should train hard while not worrying, she simply says yes. When he asks for more help, she tells him to connect with all living matter. That's not guidance. That's a fortune cookie. None of these approaches help Steven summon his shield when he needs it. It appears by accident, then disappears just as quickly. The gem's answer? You'll figure it out in your own Steven-y way. That's not teaching, that's giving up. Their failure becomes obvious in Laser Light Cannon, where the gems can't handle a threat without Rose Quartz's cannon. Despite living with Rose for thousands of years, they have no idea where she kept her most powerful weapon. It's Greg, the supposedly useless human father, who knows where to find it. And it's Steven who figures out how to activate it by saying his dad's motto: "If every pork chop were perfect, we wouldn't have hot dogs." The truth comes out in Sworn to the Sword, where Pearl trains Connie to be Steven's knight. Her teaching is disturbing. In the heat of battle, Steven is what matters. You don't matter. Pearl doesn't just teach this, she lived it, repeatedly throwing herself in front of attacks meant for Rose Quartz. Through Connie's training, we see Pearl's twisted teaching: die for someone more important than you. When Steven sees this, he finally stands up for himself. "We're not Rose and Pearl," he tells them. His stance forces Pearl to face her problems, leading to a breakdown where she accidentally calls Steven Rose. The moment shows Pearl's teaching was never about helping Steven grow. It was about recreating her relationship with Rose. This bad teaching reaches its climax in Lion 3, straight to video. After finding a videotape left by his mother, Steven finally gets direct guidance from Rose herself. Her message admits what no one else would tell him: we can't both exist. Rose doesn't offer fighting tips or magic tricks. Instead, she gives Steven permission to be himself. When you love being yourself, that's me loving you. This one video teaches Steven more than years of the gem's half-hearted guidance. While they try to turn Steven into a replacement for Rose, the video shows Rose wanted Steven to be something new, a human experience she could never have. The funny thing is that Steven's real teachers aren't the ancient, powerful gems. It's Greg, with his simple wisdom about hot dogs. It's Lion, quietly leading him to his mother's legacy. And it's Rose, who never met her son, but knew exactly what he needed. Not instructions, but freedom. Even though the gems try to guide Steven, it's clear that the real lessons come from the people and things he least expects, helping him realize what he's really capable of. As Steven starts to realize the truth about the gems and his mother, he's forced to step out of his comfort zone and face the world in a completely new way. Quick reminder, subscribe before we get into it. Steven Universe spent his early life in a weird middle ground, living with the crystal gems but not really part of their world, training without really understanding what for, learning bits and pieces about his mother without getting the full story. The beach house itself sits half carved into the crystal temple. Not quite on Earth, not quite in magic space, but there comes a moment when comfortable half-truths aren't enough anymore. In Mirror Gem, Steven meets a magical mirror that Pearl casually hands him as a learning tool. "We found it at the Galaxy Warp," she says, like it's some classroom prop. When the mirror starts to communicate, desperate to be freed, Steven pulls out the gem trapped inside, revealing Lapis Lazuli. The moment the mirror breaks, Steven breaks something else too: the gem's carefully constructed narrative. "They knew I was in there, and they didn't do anything," Lapis tells him, furious at the crystal gems. "Don't trust them, Steven." For the first time, Steven sees his guardians through someone else's eyes. The perfect heroes who protected Earth now look like jailers who trapped a conscious being in an object for thousands of years. Steven's world cracks open, and there's no putting it back together. The gems ground him for this incident, but it's too late. Steven's already stepped beyond their protection. This break from innocent connects directly to full disclosure, where Steven struggles with whether to tell Connie about the danger he's facing. After the battle with Jasper and the gem warship crashing into Beach City, Steven sees his father panic when told everything. Steven considers shutting Connie out completely, thinking it will protect her. "What's the point of hanging out with her if she's just going to get hurt?" he asks. But unlike his guardians who hid the truth, Steven ultimately chooses honesty, revealing everything to Connie. His decision marks a crucial departure from the gem's protective secrecy. Steven won't repeat their mistake of shielding loved ones from hard truths. This maturing escalates in the trial, when Steven finds himself on Homeworld, literally standing trial for his mother's supposed crime of shattering Pink Diamond. Gone is Beach City with its familiar boardwalk and fry stands. Gone are Greg's warm warm hugs and the gem's protective bubble, Steven stands alone in an alien courtroom while two massive diamonds decide his fate. "How did you do it?" Blue Diamond demands, tears streaming down her face. The truth hits Steven in that moment. He doesn't know. All those childhood bedtime stories about his brave mother fighting for Earth suddenly feel hollow. There's a darker history nobody told him, and he's paying the price for it. The most brutal threshold comes in Steven's dream, when Blue Diamond kidnaps Greg. All those years of gems protecting Steven, and now he's left watching his father disappear into space. The roles reverse entirely. Now Steven must protect his father, must journey to Homeworld, must confront the diamonds. "She took my dad," he tells Garnet, voice breaking. "What are we going to do?" These moments form a clear progression, from freeing Lapis and seeing the first cracks in the gem's facade, to choosing transparency with Connie instead of protective secrets, to finally standing on Homeworld facing the very beings his mother rebelled against. Each step takes Steven further from the ukulele-playing kid who thought magic was all fun and games. What makes this journey different from most heroes is that Steven doesn't leave home to find himself. He leaves to discover who his mother truly was, and in that process, he becomes everything she couldn't be: honest, transparent, and willing to face the consequences of actions he didn't even commit. The universe doesn't give him the luxury of staying innocent. He steps into the abyss not because he wants adventure, but because there's no other choice. As Steven steps into the real world, he begins to face new challenges and form unexpected allies. Steven Universe's journey throws him into a universe where nothing is as it seems. The cute bedtime stories about his heroic mom fighting evil gems? Lies. The all-knowing gems? They're making it up as they go. In the test, Steven discovers that the gems set up a fake challenge after he failed the Lunar Sea Spire mission. The boulders stop before hitting him, the lava doesn't burn. It's all rigged so he can't lose. From the roof, he overhears Pearl admit, "We have no idea what he needs." Instead of confronting them, Steven fakes excitement when he finishes. "That was awesome!" At 13, he's already carrying their emotional baggage, protecting them more than they protect him. This deception fundamentally changes how Steven sees his guardians and himself. No longer just their student, he becomes their emotional caretaker, a role that prepares him for Gem Drill, where he partners with former enemy Peridot to stop the cluster. When they reach this forced fusion of millions of gem shards, Steven doesn't destroy it as the gem's plan. Instead, he enters its consciousness and offers understanding. You don't have to be alone. Where hardened warriors saw only a threat, Steven recognizes pain and loneliness. Peridot herself represents this transformative approach.
"Even though I physically rebelled, my thoughts can't help but align with Homeworld's,"
she admits during their mission. Her struggle mirrors Steven's conflict between his human compassion and gem heritage. By acknowledging this complexity rather than demanding perfect loyalty, Steven creates space for enemies to become allies. Jailbreak delivers the revelation that reshapes everything. Garnet is a fusion of Ruby and Sapphire. This shatters Steven's understanding of the gems. If fusion represents love rather than just tactical advantage, what else have the gems hidden from him? This new perspective directly influences his approach in Earthlings, where he and Amethyst fuse into Smoky Quartz against Jasper. As Jasper corrupts herself through forced fusion, she screams about what Rose did to my diamond. Your diamond. Pink diamond. Even facing this hatred, Steven offers healing. His consistent choice of compassion over combat doesn't stem from naivety, but from seeing how the Gem War's violent solutions only created deeper wounds. The complexity of Steven's world expands in Off-Colors, where he discovers gems considered defective by Homeworld standards. Padparadscha, the Rutile twins, Rhodonite, and Fluorite. They become allies not through shared power, but through shared outsider status. When Lars sacrifices himself to protect them and returns pink from Steven's tears, Steven's understanding of his own abilities expands beyond what even the gems comprehend. Meanwhile, established relationships evolve in surprising ways. Amethyst, once the most immature gem, shows remarkable growth in What's Your Problem, refusing to burden Steven with her feelings. "I'm not gonna fall apart on you." She recognizes that Steven needs support rather than another emotional dependent. All these experiences culminate in the trial, where Steven faces Yellow and Blue Diamond, accused of shattering Pink Diamond. His defense lawyer builds a devastating case. "Someone with authority to cover it up. Someone like you." The line between heroes and villains blurs completely. Blue Diamond's grief feels genuine when she asks, "How did you do it?" Yellow's rage at being accused suggests deeper wounds than simple tyranny. Throughout these tests, Steven consistently chooses understanding over victory, connection over dominance, healing over vengeance. This approach transforms everything it touches. The cluster finds peace, Peridot joins the crystal gems, the Off-Colors find protection. Even failures yield insights. Jasper Jasper's corruption exposes Homeworld's toxic hierarchy. His trial reveals fractures in the Diamond's unity. By facing challenges with unwavering compassion, Steven becomes something beyond Rose Quartz or Pink Diamond, someone who sees past the rigid categories that trap them all. His strength is in his refusal to accept that enemies must stay enemies, that tests must be won through force, or that allies must be perfect to be valuable. Through these trials, Steven doesn't just learn about the universe, he begins to change it, one compassionate choice at a time. As Steven starts to understand the complexity of his relationships and the world around him, he's forced to confront even harder truths about his mother's past and what it means for his future. Like and subscribe to get more detailed videos on your favorite cartoon characters. Steven Universe stands at the edge of a precipice. The comfortable stories of his childhood, heroic crystal gems fighting evil homeworld forces, have begun to unravel thread by thread. Now he faces his greatest challenge, the truth buried beneath layers of lies and half-truths. In Bismuth, what begins as joy quickly transforms into something darker. A forgotten crystal gem emerges from Lion's Mane, immediately embraced by Pearl and Garnet as a long-lost friend.
Bismuth!
Pearl cries, running into her arms. They share inside jokes, reminisce about battles fought together. Steven watches, happy but unsettled. Another piece of history his mother never mentioned. As Bismuth forges weapon upgrades in her volcanic workshop, Steven feels both connection and distance. You remind me of her, Bismuth tells him, meaning Rose. The words that would have once filled him with pride now sit uncomfortably. How much of Rose is in him? How much is truly Steven? When Bismuth reveals the breaking point, a weapon designed to shatter gems permanently, the true test emerges. With this, she explains with fierce conviction, we could have shattered the diamonds. Her eyes burn with the pain of thousands of years bubbled away, betrayed by her leader. Steven's refusal to use the weapon triggers not just Bismuth's rage, but his own internal conflict. As they fight, her accusations echo his growing doubts. You're even worse than her! When Steven is forced to poof Bismuth with Rose's sword, he promises something Rose never did, to tell the others the truth. This wound festers as Steven descends physically into the earth in Gem Drill, with only Peridot, a former enemy, beside him. He journeys deeper than any crystal gem has gone before. The drill shudders around them, pressure building. What was it like being made on Homeworld? Steven asks quietly, seeking understanding about the world his mother rejected. Peridot's answer reveals her own struggle.
Even though I physically rebelled, my thoughts can't help but align with Homeworld's.
They both carry the weight of inherited beliefs. When they reach the cluster, millions of gem shards forcibly fused. Steven doesn't attack, but listens. In the distorted voices crying for missing pieces, he recognizes a reflection of his own fragmented identity. You don't have to be alone, he tells them, helping them bubble themselves rather than form or be destroyed. In the quiet after this victory, Steven returns to find gems concerned but proud. They don't understand what he experienced in that darkness, how he touched the horror of Homeworld's actions, yet found compassion rather than hatred. The walls between worlds continue to crumble in Jailbreak. Imprisoned on a Homeworld ship, Steven discovers the shocking truth that Garnet is a fusion of Ruby and Sapphire. Their reunion transforms his understanding of love and identity. Sorry I couldn't show you sooner, Garnet tells him after reforming, her 3 eyes filled with mixed emotions. After the narrow escape, Jasper's fusion with Lapis into the monstrous Malachite showcases the dark potential of relationships, control disguised as connection. Steven watches them sink beneath the waves, beginning to understand that power and love can become dangerously entangled. These revelations culminate in a single pale rose, when Steven journeys through the layered memories inside Pearl's gem. Each pearl they encounter guides him deeper, past barriers of silence and obligation. The truth waits at the core. Rose Quartz was Pink Diamond. His mother didn't shatter anyone. She became her own enemy, deceived her closest friends, and left her son to inherit her lies. As Steven emerges, stunned and silent, Pearl's words barely register. I wanted to tell you for so long! Behind him, Amethyst and Garnet enter at the worst possible moment, their expression shifting from confusion to shock as they realize what's been revealed. Steven stands perfectly still, caught between identities, rebel and ruler, victim and perpetrator, human and diamond. Everything he thought he knew about himself has been upended, and the path forward is shrouded in darkness. As Steven starts to understand who he truly is, he faces a big challenge that forces him to accept everything he's been struggling with. As always, make sure you're subscribed. Steven Universe faces his ultimate test, not in a battle against some cosmic threat, but in the shattering of his own identity. In Change Your Mind, everything he thought he knew about himself collapses when White Diamond seizes him in her massive hand. Stop cowering inside your gem, she demands, convinced that Pink Diamond is hiding within him. You can hide from yourself, but you can't hide from me, Pink. As Connie watches in horror, White Diamond's fingernail prizes Steven's gem from his body. The physical agony is immediate. Steven's human half collapses, pale and weakening by the second. His gem half rises, glowing intensely, cycling through the forms of Pink Diamond and Rose Quartz before settling on a pink, expressionless version of Steven himself. himself. This is death without metaphor. Steven has literally been torn in two. His human half can barely stand, clearly dying without the gem. His gem half walks toward him with a single-minded purpose, devoid of the empathy and warmth that defines Steven. White Diamond, still desperate to see Pink return, blasts the gem Steven with her mind control. But unlike every other gem, he doesn't submit. Connie's role becomes crucial here. Despite the danger, she carries Steven's weakened human self toward his gem counterpart. She's not just helping physically, she's bearing witness to his most vulnerable moment, refusing to let him face this alone. Her unwavering faith in him stands in stark contrast to White Diamond's controlling nature. The crystal gems, forced to watch while under White's control, represents everything Steven has fought for. The freedom to be imperfect, to choose your own path. Their captivity deepens the gravity of his journey. If Steven can't reunite with himself, he risks losing them as well. When the halves finally meet, human Steven laughs with joy despite his pain. Gem Steven mirrors this exact. The reunion is emotional wholeness. They don't just touch, they dance together before becoming one again. The dance matters. It's not a rescue, but a celebration. Two parts choosing to become whole. I am a child, the reunited Steven tells White Diamond when she accuses him of acting childishly. What's your excuse? This simple truth, that he is himself, not his mother, causes White Diamond to blush pink with embarrassment. Her perfect white composure cracks, revealing color. Her control over the other gems breaks. Everyone she's been puppeteering, from Pearl to Yellow Diamond, is freed. The gems hurry to Steven's side, not only relieved, but changed by what they've witnessed of his struggle. They've seen him literally split apart and choose to come back together. Their understanding of him deepens. He's not Pink Diamond in disguise, but something entirely new. Even Bismuth, Peridot, and Lapis, who arrived as reinforcements, stand in awe at what Steven has become. Steven's struggle changes everything. The Diamonds, who once wanted to destroy Earth, now help heal the corrupted gems. White Diamond, who believed perfection meant controlling everything, learns that true strength comes from accepting imperfection. In surviving his literal dismemberment, Steven doesn't just save his own existence. He proves that transformation, not destruction, is the true path forward for gems and humans alike. He's earned his status not through victory in battle, but through the courage to remain himself when everything, even his own body, was pulling him apart. After Steven becomes whole again, he shows everyone around him a new way of thinking, leading to changes in how they see him and the world. When the shaken diamonds gather around him, blushing with newfound humility, Steven doesn't gloat or demand recognition. He simply explains who he is. A child, not his mother, not Pink Diamond, just Steven. Brings unexpected gifts. Blue Diamond, once his captor, becomes an advocate. Pink was right to betray the authority, she admits and change her mind, after realizing how their treatment had made Pink, and later Steven, miserable. Yellow Diamond follows, acknowledging that her empire built on perfection had only destroyed what she loved. These powerful beings, who once threatened Earth's existence, now listen to Steven's perspective. Perhaps the most significant shift comes from Connie. Throughout Steven's journey, she witnessed him tackle galactic politics, face execution, and finally be torn apart. But she never saw him as Pink Diamond or Rose Quartz, only as Steven, her jam bud. When his human half was dying, she carried him toward his gem half without hesitation. Her loyalty wasn't to his gem or his powers, but to him. This clarity about his identity ripples outwards in the new crystal gems. While Steven is off planet, Connie, Peridot, and Lapis attempt to protect Beach City by imitating the crystal gems. They assign roles. Peridot as Garnet, Lapis as Amethyst, Connie as Steven, and a pumpkin as Pearl. Their efforts fail spectacularly as they try to copy someone else's approach rather than embrace their own strengths.
We shouldn't be trying to be them, Connie realizes. We should be ourselves.
This insight mirrors Steven's own journey. He spent years trying to be Rose Quartz, the healer, the protector, the leader she was. The discovery that she was Pink Diamond initially feels like betrayal, but ultimately brings freedom. If Rose Quartz was always a facade, then Steven need not live up to her reputation. He can forge his own path. The most tangible evidence of Steven's new understanding comes when the diamonds help heal the corrupted gems. For thousands of years, these former crystal gems suffer, twisted into monsters by the diamond's attack. With blue, yellow, and white's powers combined with Steven's, they're finally restored. Friends long thought lost return. Biggs, Snowflake, Crazy Lace, all healed because Steven didn't defeat the diamonds, but helped them grow. Even Lars, once a reluctant ally, undergoes transformation. After dying to protect the off-colors, gems considered defective by Homeworld, he's resurrected by Steven's tears, his skin and hair turning pink. In his sacrifice and rebirth, Lars gains newfound courage and purpose. He's not just alive again, he's changed fundamentally. His self-doubt replaced with determination to protect others. None of these changes come with medals or ceremonies. There's no coronation for Steven as the new pink diamond, no special title bestowed upon him. Instead, when all is settled, when the diamonds have returned to Homeworld and the formerly corrupted gems are finding their place on Earth, Steven simply returns to his beach house. The crystal gems don't bow to him or treat him differently. They simply welcome him home. What Steven carries forward isn't power over others, but understanding of himself. He's something new, something that can bridge worlds precisely because he belongs to both and neither exclusively. Not human, not gem, just Steven. After Steven finally accepts who he is, the real challenge begins, fixing the mess Rose left behind, even if that means confronting those who still haven't forgiven her. Before I get into this, make sure you're subscribed. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. After his literal and figurative reunion on Homeworld, Steven Universe faces an uncomfortable truth. Even with the diamonds on his side, even after embracing his identity, he must still confront the mess Rose Quartz left behind. Victory doesn't mean an easy path home. Steven boards the diamond mech with blue, yellow, and now strangely cooperative white diamond, headed back to Earth. The journey should be simple, but Steven's mind can't rest. There's no manual for what comes next. How do you explain to your friends that the villains they've feared for millennia are now coming for dinner? In Earthlings, we saw what happens when truth arrives too late. Jasper, consumed by rage over Pink Diamond shattering, attacked Amethyst for being defective, never knowing the whole story was fabricated. "I've been fighting because of what Rose did to my colony, my planet, and my diamond," she screamed before corruption consumed her. This revelation now hangs over Steven's return like a storm cloud. The weight of deception extends beyond just Jasper. In the trial, Lars was dragged to Homeworld as evidence against Steven, facing terror and ultimately death protecting the off-colors. His pink resurrection leaves him changed forever. Every step of Steven's journey has altered others' lives irreversibly. As the Diamond Mech approaches Earth, the true challenge emerges. Not defeating enemies, but rebuilding trust. The Crystal Gems have spent thousands of years fighting the Diamond Authority. Bismuth was bubbled for wanting to shatter Homeworld gems. Lapis was imprisoned in a mirror. Peridot was indoctrinated as a loyal technician. Now, Steven brings their tormentors home. The revelation about Rose reopens deep wounds. Garnet must confront that her origin story was based on a lie. Pearl, bound by Pink's final command, spent millennia guarding a secret that nearly destroyed her. Amethyst must reconcile that Pink Diamond herself ordered the creation of the kindergarten where she emerged. While Steven has found his truth, everyone else's reality is shattering. The true danger is emotional. The risk that truth, revealed too late and too suddenly, might destroy rather than heal. The corruption healing may fix gem bodies, but the scars on hearts and minds remain. Steven understands now that real healing requires honesty, accountability, and time, things his mother never gave. As Earth grows larger in the viewport, Steven prepares for his greatest battle yet, helping everyone process betrayal while building a new future. The diamonds may have accepted him, but convincing the crystal gems to accept the diamonds will be infinitely harder. Beach City might resume its normal rhythms, but nothing will be truly the same ever again. This is the true test of Steven's growth. Not if he can defeat enemies, but if he can heal the damage left in his mother's wake. After Steven deals with the damage Rose caused and the trust that's broken, he faces a hard truth. It's not about fixing the gems anymore. It's about whether he can move on from them. Steven Universe's moment of ultimate truth doesn't come with cosmic threats or intergalactic warfare. It comes in a simple choice: to stay or leave. In the future, after surviving galactic wars, identity crises, and complete mental breakdown, Steven decides to leave Beach City. The boy who spent years trying to live up to his mother's legacy now wants to create his own. He packs his belongings and prepares his car, convinced the gems will fall apart at the news. Instead, they smile. They act perfectly normal. Garnet tells him he'll be fine. Pearl casually stores his gifted ukulele in her gem. Amethyst gets excited about inheriting his video games. Their calm acceptance feels wrong to Steven, almost like betrayal. This is the true final test, not against White Diamond or corrupted gems, but against his own expectations and attachments. The boy who once desperately wanted to be a crystal gem now struggles with the idea that they might be fine without him. In Bismuth, Steven discovers a bubbled gem in Lion's Mane, leading to the revelation that Rose had hidden away one of the original crystal gems rather than confronting her different views. This pattern of avoidance and secrets defined Rose's approach to difficult truths. Now, Steven faces a different choice: honesty or comfortable distance. When Steven drives away and looks in his rearview mirror, he sees them waving goodbye until they're too small to make out. At this moment of pure freedom, he suddenly hits the brakes and reverses the car, rushing back to confront them about their casual acceptance of his departure. Only then do the gems reveal what they've been hiding. They're devastated. They've been holding back tears, putting on brave faces so their sadness wouldn't interfere with Steven's choice. Whatever happens in your future, we'll make sure that we're a part of it too, they promise through tears. This is Steven's final victory, not over an enemy, but over the pattern of deception that haunted his family. Unlike Rose Quartz, who hid her true identity as Pink Diamond, Steven chooses honesty. He demands it from those he loves. He stops his car, he goes back, he asks the hard question. Steven passes through Beach City one last time, seeing the places and people who've shaped him. He doesn't look back with regret or resentment, but with gratitude and the calm confidence of someone who knows exactly who he is. This is not retreat or escape, it's growth. The boy who once couldn't imagine life without the gems now drives toward an uncertain future, carrying their love with him, but no longer defined by it. The half-human, half-gem hybrid who struggled to understand where he belonged finally realizes he belongs wherever he chooses to be. After Steven finds himself and leaves, he comes back to Beach City to show the gems a new way forward. Steven Universe returns to Beach City not as a conqueror brandishing trophies, but as a bridge builder, carrying understanding. The diamond mechs land on the beach during Sadie, Killer, and the Suspects concert, towering over confused humans and anxious gems, waiting to see what comes next. What Steven brings isn't just the diamonds themselves, but a new way forward. Healing instead of fixing, connection instead of control, honesty instead of secrets. The corruption that plagued gems for millennia is undone not through battle, but through cooperation between former enemies. Together, their combined diamond powers restore what war had broken, bringing back gems long thought lost. In the new crystal gems, we glimpse Steven's influence even in his absence. Connie, Peridot, and Lapis try protecting Beach City by literally becoming the crystal gems. Their efforts nearly destroy It's a Wash when they fight over who's doing their role correctly. The breakthrough comes when Connie realizes, we shouldn't imitate, but be ourselves and use our own skills. This insight that strength comes from authenticity mirrors Steven's journey from trying to be Rose Quartz to discovering freedom and being himself. The impact of Steven's growth radiates outward. Lars's return from space as the confident captain of the Off-Colors, no longer obsessed with fitting in. Bismuth, once bubbled for her violent views, channels her passion into creation rather than destruction. Peridot discovers her metal powers and peculiar talents. Lapis, who repeatedly fled Earth out of fear, chooses to stay and fight for it. Even Beach City's humans adapt. They no longer panic at gem monsters or alien ships. They've absorbed Steven's resilience, his ability to face the strange while still finding donuts worth eating and music worth making. Perhaps most profound is the change in the diamonds. These beings who once ruled through fear and perfection now face their own flaws. White Diamond's pink blush becomes the first crack in her perfect facade. Blue Diamond acknowledges how her treatment drove Pink Diamond away. Yellow recognizes that her empire built on perfection destroyed what she loved. They're not suddenly perfect. Millennia of habits don't vanish overnight, but they're growing. And Steven himself, the boy who once desperately tried measuring up to his mother, now stands firmly as himself. Not Rose Quartz, not Pink Diamond, just Steven Universe. His growth from a kid who couldn't reliably summon his shield to someone who heals gem history's deepest wounds didn't happen through victory in battle, but through stubborn compassion. The final scene of Change Your Mind shows Steven sitting on the beach with Connie and the crystal gems. No speeches about victory, no ceremonies, just people he loves sharing a quiet moment. That's what he fought for. Not glory, but connection. Not power, but the freedom to be imperfect together. This isn't just an ending. It's a messy new start. The old gem empire is dead, but nobody knows what comes next. Steven didn't solve Homeworld's problems. He just broke their system and left everyone to figure it out. Thousands of years of rigid rules don't vanish overnight. Now, gems who only knew how to follow orders have to decide what they want. Diamonds who lived for perfection have to make peace with the flaws. The Era 3 Steven stumbled into is uncomfortable freedom, with all the confusion and mistakes that come with it. But at least now everyone gets to make their own mistakes instead of following someone else's. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.